Is he just there? Does he have powers? Are we seeing his origin story? Now, Mr. Negative, too, is an interesting villain to pick at this point. Because it seems like a deep... Brian, in a nutshell, for anyone in here who's been living under a rock, what's going on with Spider-Man?
So we're making a Spider-Man game. We are making a unique Spider-Man universe. This is not based on one of the movies or a particular comic line. Obviously, we're inspired by all of it, right? It's such a rich history, and like probably many of you, I grew up in the character, and Insomniac grew up in the character, but we wanted to do something that obviously sticks to the traditions of the franchise, but we also want to mix things up. And I mean, if you look at his costume, for example, you know that's Spider-Man, right? But then you see that white spider, it's something different. So
that was a choice, right? So that at a glance, people would understand this.
Yeah, I think one thing we wanted to say is people understand that's Insomniac Spider-Man, and it's. I mean, I'm sitting up here, and you know, I was actually just talking to Justin before this, and I was sitting here going, I can't believe we actually get to do this. I mean, it's been since we started working on this project, it's been a surreal experience for myself, for everybody in Insomniac, and it's awesome. I mean, as you guys all know, making games is really, really hard, but coming to events like this and seeing your guys' reaction, the tweets, I read every single one of them. I love hearing the stuff, even the criticisms, and we just want to do it right. When I hear that the cheers for Spider-Man, that's how we are. We're saying the exact thing. So I can keep talking about this until someone stops me.
I guess my question, actually might be more for Bill. Hold on. So my question to Bill would be: so how does this come about? Is it that Insom's got an idea for Spider-Man and they pitch you, or do you see something in Insomniac and you want to talk to them?
I mean, each game is different. We want to collaborate with everyone. Yeah, we don't care where the idea comes from, as long as it's good.
Okay.
So yeah. So in some cases, you know, we start just by we just began by just talking. Mm-hmm. We just sat, we talked. What did we talked about our history of Spider-Man. We all realized that when each of us were 6 years old, we all had the same Spider-Man underoos.
Underoos, man. Well, yeah. I at one point wore 9 underoos shirts at once, and my mom was like, "You can only wear one," and of course I wore Spider-Man. Because I think to talk about that, I remember our first very conversation with Bill and Mike on the phone, and Bill talked for an hour. By the way, he's one of the greatest individuals to ever just sit down and have a cup of coffee or dinner with, because you will just fall in love with Marvel more than you've ever done before. So, Bill's awesome, as you can probably tell. But I remember that we had an hour. Oh, you want to? So we had this initial phone call. We were talking about the character, and I remember Bill talked for an hour. And I think I wrote, no joke, 8 pages of notes. But I remember he said one thing, and I underlined it like 5 times. And I think we talk about this pretty much every day at the offices. The best stories are when Peter's world and Spider-Man collide. And that's pretty much our mantra every day as we make this game. Are we delivering on that promise?
So how does that work with Mr. Negative then? That's the guy we've seen so far in terms of being a villain. How's that working?
So that's actually one of the reasons why we chose Mr. Negative. So as some of you know, he's a relative newcomer to the staple of Spider-Man villains, and we thought that he was one of the characters we could add to the game that kind of lets us see that collision of those two worlds. And on the surface, Martin Lee is this really good guy, and he's running these feast shelters around the city. And Aunt May happens to work there. So obviously there's a Peter connection. But then, as the game goes on, we reveal the other side of Martin Lee. And this, what we know is Mr. Negative running the Inner Demons. So obviously Spider-Man is very involved in that. So you see the collision of when, you guys saw E3 in the video. Hopefully you guys have seen the video.
Ever seen E3 video?
You see when he doesn't say Mr. Negative. When he finally sees that Martin Lee is the head of the Inner Demons, he actually says Martin Lee, because in his head he's making that connection of like, oh my God, my aunt works for this guy. Is she in danger? What's going on? So, and I think things you'll see in the game, whether it's Miles, whether it's Aunt May, whether it's Mr. Negative, we try to have that connection. And there's
this is Spider-Man fighting Mr. Negative in the subway. And I swear it's coming up with it. There we go. Say what? This is
Yeah.
Is this just a concept? Is this an actual location?
So this is actually a fight in the game.
Oh.
This actually does take place. They fight in the train, and it's pretty crazy. And you know, we actually have some really awesome. I think one thing we do actually is we work a lot with concepting. What myself and our director Jacinda do, we just kind of give our concept artists like a 2 to 3 sentence description, and we just call them like inspiration pieces. And we said, well, I was like, wouldn't it be cool if Mr. Negative and Spider-Man fought in a train?